Hello and welcome to this video on the common pests that are going to harm your bonsai and how to treat them, or at least try to do so. The pests that will attack your bonsai are, at best, going to weaken them, and in an extreme case, will kill them, more so if they're left unchecked, but they can still cause extensive harm. With early detection and good practices, you should be able to apply a targeted treatment that will make them, in the worst case scenario, a manageable pest, and in the best case scenario, a non-existent pest anymore. The reason you need to be aware of this, particularly when we talk about bonsai, is that they are notably vulnerable. They are grown in small pots with limited root systems and kept in relatively controlled environments. This is great for pests because they can spread quickly and stress is somewhat magnified. Think of it as the same way that, say, a dwarf human is going to struggle more with many everyday diseases, simply because their body does not have the means of keeping up with it. The same way a bonsai will have difficulties. They have more limited resources and they're already under a certain amount of stress. The key to prevention is through vigilant monitoring and ensuring your trees are healthy, caring for them well. Now, if you do need to address it, it's best to use, let's say, gentle but layered treatments that prioritize manual and less aggressive techniques to avoid harming your somewhat delicate bonsai. The general prevention strategies which apply to just about all pests are to inspect them regularly. Check your bonsai every week, if not a couple of times each week. Focus notably on new growth, leaf undersides and branch crotches, bark and soil surfaces. If you're particularly, let's say, liberal in how much time you have available, get out a magnifying glass and look for the extra small pests that are going to be there, if they are there at all. Next is to maintain tree health. A well-draining bonsai soil mix, watered only when it is necessary, with fertiliser that is balanced and seasonally appropriate, with a tree placed in appropriate light, in temperature and humidity that is good, will ensure your trees are not stressed and they are growing well and healthy. Stressed trees, by contrast, attract pests. And then we have the idea of new trees. Let's say you went to the nursery or an exhibition and you managed to buy yourself something new and shiny. Great, now quarantine it. You want to isolate a new bonsai for a couple of weeks, if not up to a month, and inspect them thoroughly before adding them to your collection. This is to ensure they don't bring anything new and exciting with them. Then you have the environment itself. You want to ensure that air circulates around all of your bonsai freely. You want to only miss the foliage in dry conditions and remove debris such as fallen leaves and weeds promptly. Then you have tools. Yellow sticky traps catch flying adults such as beetles. You are trying to encourage beneficial insects, which can be a challenge if you use some of the more aggressive chemicals we'll mention, or let's say predatory mites or ladybugs, and work outdoors or in controlled settings if you can. Then you have preventative sprays. You can use a diluted amount of neem oil or even insecticidal soap spray as a sort of preventative option, but we don't exactly encourage this. Mostly because although it acts as a broad deterrent for many soft-bodied pests, it can cause harm to your bonsai, and in some cases can cause other issues with resistance for other species that aren't so forgiving of your eager attempt to stop them from taking up residence. And of course there's always the issue that certain species are highly sensitive. And then we have hygiene, sterilizing your tools, pots, etc., and avoid bringing outdoor plants near your indoor bonsai. The first thing to do is if a pest appears is act fast. And not the if someone's having a stroke fast, we mean actually be speedy about this. Isolate the tree to prevent spread, and you want to then test any spray you're going to be using on a small area of your bonsai. Give it 1 to 2 days before you go into full application. Wait to see if there's anything horrifying happening, and then, if it is, don't use it. Change your tool of choice, or in this case, treatment. As bonsai foliage can be particularly sensitive, this is important. If we're not going to go straight to that, we can actually look at what the pests are. First, the most common, aphids, otherwise known as greenfly, blackfly, etc. The identification is fairly easy. They're 1 to 3 mm soft-bodied, often pear-shaped insects in, as the name would suggest, green, black, white, or even sometimes pink clusters. You'll usually find them on tender new shoots, stems, and leaf undersides. They move slowly, or sometimes not at all, when young, The winged form appears when they're crowded, trying to find new homes. The damage and symptom signs are sap sucking causes distorted, curled or yellowing leaves and new growth, the stunted shoots, a sticky honeydew excretion that attracts ants and leads them to become a black sooty mold, and in severe cases it can cause dieback. Aphids can also transmit viruses, so they're kind of like children in that respect, dirty, diseased, and causing damage. Prevention, unlike with children, does not involve a condom. You want to closely monitor, particularly in spring and early summer, the new growth of your bonsai, and control any ants that are in the area. Ants have this habit of farming aphids, where they'll take them from one place, transplant them to a new place, and then, farm them, exactly as you would on a ranch. Then you want to look at fertiliser. Excess nitrogen can promote soft growth that aphids absolutely love. Treatment is, manual removal. Use strong jets of water from either a hose or something similar, or even just a squirt bottle. This will dislodge them, and then if it doesn't work quite to the extent you want, you can rub them off with your fingers or even a soft cloth. There are also, let's say, more aggressive options. Insecticidal soap and neem oil spray. You can apply this every 4 days to 7 days, so basically once to twice a week for 2 to 3 weeks. Make sure, however, you cover the undersides of the leaves, as this is where they like to hide particularly. The neem oil in this case suffocates them. The biological solutions involve the release of ladybugs, but this is at best temporary as they will travel away from where you release them. The more aggressive approaches involve systemic insecticide granules or sprays, but you want to use this sparingly on bonsai and follow the label rates exactly, if not slightly less. Repeat the treatments as needed for aphids rapidly, every 7 to 10 days, so basically once to twice or 3 times a fortnight. Then we have the spider mites. Red spider mites are the most common example we'll have here. In order to identify them, you're looking at basically microscopic details, almost invisible without some sort of magnification. They're a reddish yellow or green coloration. They'll make fine silk webbing on the leaves, stems, and generally the stippled yellow bronze leaves. You want to shake a branch over white paper to see tiny moving dots. This will tell you that you found them. Easy enough to figure it out because it's moving and it shouldn't be. They thrive in hot, dry conditions. The symptoms of their presence are sap sucking, which leads to mottled leaves, premature leaf drop, reduced vigor, and possibly eventual defoliation. They are particularly common on conifers and indoor bonsai. The prevention is to increase humidity. The daily misting or even a pebble tray under your bonsai will help considerably in that respect. But you also want to improve airflow. If you have a combination of dusty and dry locations, along with spider mites, they thrive. But if you have good air movement, you'll obviously not have as much dust building up, and humidity tends to prevent that anyway as the dust settles from the moisture in the air. The treatment involves manual methods such as a strong water spray again, and you do this every few days. You don't really have the option of manually removing them unless you've got really, really good dexterity, really steady hands, and tiny, tiny tweezers. And even then you probably miss them. The organic options, essentially less aggressive chemical options, are neem oil or similar, any sort of miticidal spray. Apply this every week for several weeks. And again, you might want to try predatory mites as biological control mechanisms. The more aggressive chemical options are various miticides that are more, let's say, unaccepted in organic farming, or growing, or any other thing, but they're just harsher. Be aware, and this is an important caveat here, broad insecticides can make the situation worse for you, because they'll kill the natural predators for the spider mites as much as they kill the spider mites. And typically speaking, the population of the predator does not grow as quickly as the prey in this case. And obviously addressing the underlying dryness is going to help you solve this in the long term. Then you have mealybugs. These are small, white, cottony or waxy masses. They look kind of like little tufts of wool, hence their name. You'll find them in the leaf axils, branch crotches, roots, or even under the bark. They are slow moving and they produce honeydew. The signs of their presence are sap loss, which weakens the tree, honeydew causes sooty mold, a distorted growth, and leaf yellowing or drop. They really are hard to spot until the population is built up to a point where they're actually causing your problem, which makes it challenging to deal with them. Prevention would normally involve inspecting for hidden spots, regularly quarantining new plants, and avoiding an overly humid or a stagnant condition, which, given what we mentioned earlier, can be a bit of a balancing act. The treatment involves manual options to start with, dabbing something with 70% isopropyl alcohol, cotton buds, face wipes, paper towel, even a paintbrush, and then applying this to dissolve the waxy coating and then rinsing the tree afterwards. It works very well, but it is very difficult given how manual it is and depending on the size of the tree and number of trees you have. If you have the same number as many collectors have, this is just not practical. Then you need to go on to your next option, insecticidal soaps or neem oil sprays. This needs to be done roughly every week, if not every other week, for 3 to 4 weeks. And in the case of more extreme cases, you're probably going to need a soil drench or a spray. For root mealybugs, you probably want to repot and inspect the roots, and that'll be the only way to really get rid of them in that case. The challenge with mealybugs, as opposed to some of the others we've mentioned, is that protective coating, which means you need to be persistent, you need to keep going, and you need to be reasonably consistent in your treatment of them. If you lapse just a little bit, the population may start coming back, which sets you back further, which means you now need to spend more time dealing with them, which means you're even less motivated, which means you probably miss more opportunities, and you see how this just gets out of hand very quickly. Next is scale, or specifically scale insects. These are immobile, dome or bump-shaped, hard and sometimes soft scales, and they appear as tiny brown, grey or waxy raised spots on bark, stems and leaf undersides. Heavy infestations produce honeydew. Obviously, if you get before then, better. The symptoms of damage are, again, sap-sucking causes yellowing, leaf drop and stunted growth, possibly, if you're very unfortunate, a branch dieback. A sooty mould will follow the production of honeydew. Prevention involves regular visual checks of the bark and stems, and healthy trees will be fairly resistant to what they're going to do. Not perfectly so, to be clear about that, but they will be better able to resist. A treatment involves manually removing by scraping off or picking them off with a soft brush or even your fingernail, and if you really don't want to go that far, attack them with rubbing alcohol, isopropyl alcohol. If you don't want to do that, you can use something like horticultural oil sprays, and apply this once every week or thereabouts. You want to try and target the crawling stage when they're young and mobile, not when they start developing that hard, almost a calloused type scale characteristic. If it gets to be more of a problem again, you can use insecticidal granules, for example, as they are absorbed by the plant and spread throughout it, and then kill them as they try and suck on the sap. Contact sprays are less effective once they become armoured, because of the reasons we mentioned. You'll need to treat it multiple times, as there are different stages of eggs hatching, and then they're becoming hatchlings where they move around, and then they become the actual scale itself. Kind of like how treating kids with nits needs to be done multiple times. Then you have vine weevils. These are adults that are 8 to 10 millimeters. They're black beetles with sometimes yellow or white markings and long snouts, notch leaves. The larvae are white, the grubs are C-shaped and about 10 millimeters in size, and they have a reddish-brown head in the soil. The symptoms or signs of damage are adults have chewed regular notches in the leaves, the larvae are developing the roots, and it's causing sudden wilting or even death, especially noticeable in spring repotting periods. Prevention involves shaking adults off at night, avoid overly moist soil, and that's about all you can really do. Treatment in terms of handling it is, handpick adults and remove larvae during repotting, if you spot them. In terms of being less aggressive, you can try nematodes, which are a soil drench, and this targets the larvae fairly effectively, which would stop that generation. Then you have the chemical methods, and there are specific vine weevil chemical sides, something similar to that, and these generally last for at least 6 months after you apply them. They're a soil drench of a kind. Just be aware that if you do pick these up as being present, act quick, act hard, and be aware that they are one of the most destructive bonsai pests, especially if we're talking about the larvae which attack the roots. Then you have caterpillars. There are all kinds of caterpillars out there. There are various larvae, as they're otherwise called, green, brown, hairy, and they mostly camouflage fairly well, or they'll hide inside of folded leaves. This is why they are very diverse and sometimes very hard to get your hands on, let's say. The symptoms and signs of damage are holes in leaves, stripped foliage, or complete defoliation if you've got an extreme infestation. Prevention is going to involve inspection almost daily in warm seasons. If you're particularly wanting to stop them, use a net. That's probably your best option, really. In terms of treatment, handpick and destroy any caterpillars that get onto your bonsai. You could try a BT spray, which should target caterpillars fairly safely, and sometimes systemic insecticides if you have a particularly heavy outbreak. Moving on, we have slugs and snails. These are slimy mollusks. You can tell what they are because they look disgusting, and they kind of look alike except one carries its house with it. Finding them is a little bit easier as they're active at night in damp conditions, so go outside with a torch and look to see what you find. If you are going out at night, you're probably going out because you'll have seen signs involving large holes or stripped leaves and certainly torn edges, but particularly in spring and when the temperature is above 10 degrees Celsius, 50 freedom units. To prevent this, you can either reduce damp hiding spots, elevate your pots so they can't get to it, or similar, essentially make it harder for in this case slugs and snails, to get to your bonsai. A treatment can involve handpicking at night. You could use something like an organic slug pellet or bait, or a beer trap, or even something like say a copper tape as a barrier. If you're feeling particularly vicious, let's say, go out there with a bottle full of vinegar and watch them burn. Then we have the pests you have to worry about are fungus gnats. These are more of a concern for indoor bonsai. The tiny black flies that hover near soil. The larvae are small white worms in particularly wet soil and or moss. The damage they do is more an annoyance, at least in terms of the adult stage. The larvae, however, they are more of an issue. They will nibble at the roots, which in the case of small bonsai is almost a death sentence. For larger bonsai, it will weaken them. Now, you won't necessarily kill a large bonsai, but it will not be well. One way to prevent them is to let the soil dry completely between watering and or improve drainage. Sometimes you may want to, avoid the use of moss if you're in an area particularly prone to them. A treatment involves, say, yellow sticky traps for the adults, something like a BT spray or soil drench for the larvae, and possibly repotting of fresh soil if the infestation is particularly severe. There are other less common pests, thrips, whiteflies, frog hoppers or cuckoo spit, and they all follow the similar pattern: water sprays, soap, and monitoring. So you don't need to worry too much about those. You'll be able to apply most of what we mentioned to them. And there's probably a specific, if not specialized product out there for dealing with them exactly, and that'll tell you what to do. Some final tips. As we mentioned, you want to try and layer your defense. That is, you want to integrate different things into your pest management process, combining prevention, early manual removal, and minimize the chemicals if you can. If is a major element of this. If your infestation is beginning to become overwhelming or your tree shows severe decline, you probably want to talk to someone more local to you, whether it's a local bonsai Reddit group, a local bonsai club or society, or just someone in the area that you think of as a mentor when it comes to bonsai. If you're particularly worried about certain pathogenic organisms, you may find a university extension service or a similar expert that can provide you with specific advice. For example, Dutch elm disease absolutely decimated the elm species in America, and they've had to find ways to deal with that. But of course, as with everything, the tolerances will vary not just by your location, but the initial health of your bonsai, the species of your bonsai, and the type of pathogen you're dealing with. If you want to at least take away one, not necessarily definitive, but the most useful part of this, with consistent care, most bonsai will recover fully, so long as they are healthy to start with, and you get on top of the problem early. But if you can do that, you are in a good position to defend your bonsai from any kind of harm from various pests that will cause you grief of various kinds. Thank you for watching this video. If you have found it interesting, consider liking, sharing, and subscribing, and please do post any comments, questions, or suggestions you have below.